How World War I turned the United States into a global power. In 1914, the United States was not the world's dominant superpower. It was a growing nation, mostly focused on its own continent, and determined to stay neutral while Europe tore itself apart in World War I. At first, neutrality worked. American factories sold goods to both sides. American banks loaned money, and American ships crossed the Atlantic with supplies. While Europe destroyed itself, the US economy quietly expanded. But the war kept pulling America closer. German submarine attacks on ships, especially the sinking of the Lusitania, began to shift public opinion. Then, in 1917, Germany resumed unrestricted submarine warfare and tried to recruit Mexico against the US with the Zimmermann telegram. Neutrality was no longer safe. When the United States entered the war, it didn't just send soldiers, it sent industrial power on a scale Europe had never seen. Millions of troops, massive quantities of weapons, food, vehicles, and money flooded into the conflict. American factories became the backbone of the Allied war effort. By the time the war ended, Europe was exhausted and deeply in debt. The United States, on the other hand, had expanded its industry, strengthened its military, and become the world's largest creditor nation. Financial power shifted from London to New York. The dollar began replacing the British pound as a global currency. President Woodrow Wilson also stepped onto the world stage with his vision for global peace and the League of Nations. Even though the US later rejected the League, the message was clear. America was no longer just a distant observer, it was a global player. World War I didn't just pull the US into international politics. It transformed the country into a military, economic, and political power whose influence would shape the entire 20th century. America entered the war as a neutral nation. It left it as a world power.